Joining us for the news at 10 o'clock, I'm Chris Fry. We welcome in meteorologist Erika Paige. In about 40 minutes or so, we're going to be celebrating summer, and how fitting that a heat wave is starting the summer off for us.
Well, and you think back to how winter went, how spring went.
Yes.
Not really where we were typically, and then now we're all of a sudden seems like jumping into late August. I think Brian Duffy said earlier today, that's what it's going to feel like by the time we get into the second half of the weekend. So we are tracking a couple 19 first alert weather days, Sunday, Monday into Tuesday. Those days specifically, because we do think that those are going to be the days where we experience kind of the worst of the heat that's going to be rolling through, which is why the National Weather Service has put all of our counties under that extreme heat watch. This will be upgraded at some point, whether that's later tonight or more than likely through the day tomorrow to either that heat advisory or extreme heat warning. Really the only difference between the two is what the upper level number is. So if we're in the 104 category or cooler, more than likely the heat advisory. If we exceed 105 for that feels like temperature, they may decide to go extreme heat warning. It's really kind of splitting hairs then at that point. Regardless, it's going to feel very toasty here with all the humidity that's starting to build in. And if you look off to the west, I mean, you can see all of that heat starting to spill into the central parts of the country. Even Chicago earlier today was into the lower 80s, still sitting there at this hour. And that's what we have to look ahead to once we get into tomorrow. So this is how quickly things are going to start changing for us now that we're starting to see this last little bit of rain clear out of here. We did have some showers and storms on radar earlier tonight. Overall, not really seeing a whole lot left. Everything is just kind of starting to fizzle out now that we're past sunset, and I would expect that to continue to be the trend with just a few lingering clouds across the area. Temperatures right now for a lot of us, if you saw some of that rain, you're sitting into the upper 60s. Elsewhere, it's about lower 70s. Enjoy the slightly cooler air around there tonight because temperatures into the 60s for overnight lows will likely not be seen for almost another week. We are going to be back upper 60s to about low 70s tonight, then headed through the day tomorrow. Here comes all of that heat. Expect daytime highs into the upper 80s. We'll talk about how much warmer it gets from here in your first alert forecast.
Thing when you have a great weekend when it's not impacted by rain, as we bring in meteorologist Erika Paige. But the caveat this weekend is the heat. It's when you take part in those outdoor activities.
Yeah, and even if you do, which, well, of course, you know, you want to have fun for the weekend, please just make sure you're mixing in a little water, trying to stay hydrated, because when you're talking about heat, even like what we're going to see tomorrow, it's enough that it's going to dehydrate you a lot faster, and you want to try and slow that process as much as possible because you're going to be sweating a lot. That's your body's natural way of trying to keep you a little bit cooler. And certainly as we get into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of this next week, your body is going to be working a little bit more on overdrive because of all the heat and the humidity and how that temperature then feels on your body. Remember, heat index is really just how that temperature feels to us in the shade. So each and every one of these days, it's quite likely that that heat index value will be at least into the triple digits. At lower end, maybe at some points in the day, you might be into the mid to upper 90s, but during that peak heating of the day, a lot of us are going to be a lot warmer than that. By Tuesday and Wednesday, this is where the forecast starts to change a little bit because we do start to introduce an opportunity for rain. So that can always lessen kind of the heat impact that we have essentially during the afternoon. But Sunday and Monday, we're going to have a lot of sunshine here. So there's not really going to be a lot of Mother Nature providing us relief from a lot of this heat and humidity. Extreme heat watches are in effect for everybody. Again, this will likely be upgraded here within the next 12 to almost 24 hours or so. They like to wait until about a day before they make the decision on whether or not they're doing the heat advisory versus the extreme heat warning. Again, it's a temperature difference of 1 degree, whether or not you're going to be in the 104 degree category or cooler or 105 and warmer. That's the only thing that's the distinction between the two of them. By tomorrow morning, temperatures are going to be upper 60s to about lower 70s. So it is a very warm start to the day. And you'll notice we're going to be well above average even tomorrow afternoon. Average is right around 81 degrees or so for this time of the year. I do think daytime highs for us are going to be topping off into the upper 80s, and we may actually even have a couple 90s on the board, especially out to the west. So this is kind of your practice lead into all the bigger heat that's going to be working in by Sunday. So if you have plans, maybe you're headed out to the beaches across Northeast Ohio to try and stay a little bit cooler. Overall, the forecast is looking pretty good. Just highly suggest checking any local water conditions just to make sure that you don't have anything potentially in the water that may make you sick, things like E. coli. You just want to make sure of that because of all the rain that we've had the last couple of days. Winds are going to be out of the southeast, so it should keep those wave heights very low, about a foot or less. So that's the good news for you. Remember, we've been talking about the heat index. This is where we're going to be early tomorrow morning. So remember your temperature, upper 60s to about lower 70s. Going to feel more so like low to mid 70s. By lunchtime, we're already feeling like we're into the mid to upper 80s. And then as we get into the really kind of heat of the day, temperatures in a lot of locations, especially west of I-77, will feel like we're already into the low to mid 90s. We may stay a little cooler with that heat index value the farther east you are, and that's because of some extra cloud cover that may be around, and you're still technically on kind of the very edge of where that heat is starting to build in. But I mean, even 8 o'clock tomorrow night, a lot of us are still going to be feeling like we're upper 80s to about lower 90s. And as we said, that heat index is only going to climb as we get into the second half of the weekend and early this next week. For many of us, it'll range into the triple digits, likely as warm as 105. So just make sure you're taking the necessary precautions. You're looking out for kids, you're looking out for pets, neighbors as well, just to make sure everybody's handling the heat okay. If you know somebody that doesn't have air conditioning, maybe invite them over, allow them to use yours for a little bit of time, especially when we're talking about temperatures about low to mid 90s early this next week. As I said, there's a little relief that comes back with the temperature forecast by the end of the week, but that does come with some opportunities for some showers and storms. We'll dive a little bit more into that part of the forecast coming up here in the next half hour.